All right, chat. I do have a question for you, for the people that are here. Would you like us to start at number 10 or number 1?
Yeah.
Well, number 2, I guess, really. But would you like us to start at the top or the bottom? Because me and Wave were having conversations about it.
There's advantages to both, chat. Which one
Sure.
do you think would be more interesting?
Oh.
Wow. Your chat knows what they like.
They do. Looks like we're starting at 10. I win this argument, Wave. Yes.
You do. My chat, I was thinking number 1 was more interesting, but apparently I'm wrong.
Yeah. Well, like, it's hard in NA because number 1 is obviously so clear. So it's like
That's what
you
I'm
would have to wait
saying,
till
yeah.
like 3, and then it gets a little interesting. But yeah.
Yeah.
What
Let's
do
get
you
number
do?
1, number 2 out of the way. Pirates of the Boat in G2, and then
Exactly.
let's move on.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like-
Yeah. Pretty simple. Pretty simple.
That's fine. It's fine. So I do want to. I feel like it's also worth clarifying at the beginning here. You've maybe done this before, but I have not done this with you on what. There's many different ways you can power rank teams. You can power rank teams based off of literally just the results, and it's really just the current top 10 in North America. You can power rank them based off of who's got the cleanest webcam on broadcast. How I rank them. So the chat is familiar with how Wavepunk looks at power rankings.
I like this.
Is I think of how strong do I think a team is at their peak? How strong in my brain when I think about like, oh, this team, if on a good day, how good are they? That number times a multiplier that is how consistently can they output that number.
Okay.
So you can have teams that are like really, really strong, but they're really kind of, I don't know, they're wishy-washy. They're gonna lose a lot of points, even though they're like really strong, you know, versus a team that's like not that great, but man, they're always there, always at that same peak. They're gonna get more points. So
mine would be probably somewhere along the lines of that they both went 3-1. They both had the exact same game differential. They're 4-5 going into the quarterfinals. Who is favored? Based on that. Like, obviously, we don't know what those are. That's generally how I do it. But obviously, with, like, how well they are playing is going to factor in a bit. Like, with the results and stuff. Like, I'm not going to, like, even if I think a team is slightly better than what they've showed, it's still going to dock them some points, right? Because it's just what they've shown. So it's like, it's kind of a mixture as well. And people will probably be more comfortable or will be know my power rankings better than yours, so I'm actually, because I don't know what they are, so I'll be happy to watch what your power rankings are compared to mine. I saw Jordan Crowley did power rankings recently. Mine are kind of like theirs as well. I don't know if you saw that, but we'll get into it. Let's do it.
I opened it and I looked at where they both ranked Pirates on a Boat, and then I moved on. I didn't look at the rest. So neither of them had a number 1, so I mean,
what are you gonna do? So we started out with Pobe at number 1. All right, we'll start at 10. So I'll start at 10.
Okay.
I'll say mine, then you say yours, then you go to 9, and we'll go back and forth like 2 at a time. Does that make sense? And we'll conversate about it.
So you give me 10, and I give you 10 and 9, then you give me 9 and 8.
Sure. Yeah. And I'm gonna have to fill these in while I'm doing it. So yeah, so we'll be doing that. All right. Number 10. I think was tough. It's hard to determine where this cutoff is, who goes where. I think last time I had them ranked maybe one spot better than where I do now. Let me make sure I have the edit option for this. Oh, there we go. All right. My number 10 is NRG.
Okay.
I don't know what to do with this team because you would think with the roster move, like after the roster move happened, I probably would have knocked them off my power rankings last week. I had them at 9, but that was before roster moves happened. Because that's where they finished, right? 2 and 3, and I was like, all right, they're veterans. It seems like they will always be that 2-2 team that will battle. Then that roster move happened, and honestly, I thought it was going to be a 1-3 or 0-3 day because it's weird to make roster moves like that. Then they go out in 3-1. They take down Luminosity 3-0, which I think was the weirdest result we saw on the entire Friday. I don't understand how that happened. It is definitely kind of fluky because we saw them play them again the following day and get destroyed, right? So I don't know exactly how to rank NRG. I assume the roster is going to get better now over these next 2 weeks if they're still playing with the same 3, more practice. But I'm still not that confident. They had a Mickey run through Swiss outside of that Luminosity game, but they got that Mickey run because they 3-0'd Luminosity. So it's tough. I still will power rank them. They're still on my list, but I can't move them up any higher. It is weird because there's a lot of inconsistent teams around them. So yeah, it's tough. But I'm going to put them number 2.
Okay. I'm on board with everything you're saying.
Okay.
I have energy similarly placed. I'll give you, since I'm giving you number 10 and number 9, I'll
Sure.
just give you, I have energy at number 9.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And I have for basically everything you just said. It's like OG and NRG had like kind of similar flip-floppy results. Like in week 1, OG had the worst possible Swiss.
Yeah.
But then this week they made it to top 4, where last week NRG didn't make top 4, and this week, or didn't make top 8, and this week they made top 8. So like, I don't know, like they're kind of which one you consider worse, going out 3-0 in Swiss or not making it to top 4 once you make it to bracket. I don't know. They're and then you put the roster stuff on top of it, and I'm like, the consistency is just not there for me with NRG right now. I'm the same boat. I don't know what to think about them. I considered not even putting them on this list. They weren't on my list last week. Congratulations, they were unranked last week. They advanced 2 spots, I guess, technically.
Sure.
My number 10 team last week was Young Whippersnappers. They have dropped off the list after not making top 16. My number 10 team is Shopify Rebellion.
Ooh.
Here's my thing with Shopify. They went out in the final round this week of top 16. If they had won the one last match they had in double elim, they would have been in top 16. We would have seen them again. They faced off against TSM in that round, and this was the first time, not even just the players, but the org had faced off against each other. Shopify and TSM never played before. First time those rosters had seen each other. It was a sweep by TSM, but barring that one result, they're in top 16, and I think that the difference between seeing them mentally on Friday and not seeing them mentally on Friday is a big deal. We're like, oh, they didn't even make it here. In our brain, they went out somewhere in the middle of, bumbling nowhere lower elimination bracket. It's not like that. They went out they were one rank below top 16 here. And for me, here's where like the results for me are, I remember I was saying earlier, it's like a team's power versus their consistency multiplier.
Yeah.
Results are just consistency multiplier demonstrated, right? So yes, that does affect my opinion, the fact that they didn't make top 16. But to me, this team is like the new phase. Like when they're good, they're unbeatable Gatling guns of freedom. Like it's Justin two-piece and part. This is like a very, very strong roster on paper, but the youth and emotions of this team, I mean, Justin, super great player, definitely known for being a little bit of an emo boy. When it goes up and down, I can't put them higher than 10th. I want to put them higher than 10th. Where did I have them last week? I had them.
I assume probably like 4 or 5. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm at 6th last week. So this week, not making top 16, definitely a problem, but I still really do believe in the power of the team.
That's fair. All right, so since we're going back the other way, where I'm going to do 8 and 9, I'll give you my 8, because that's where I put Shopify Rebellion.
Okay.
After what
really?
you have said.
So so the top 16 wasn't that bad for you, or the missing top 16 wasn't that bad for you?
It was, but I know that their peak, as you said, is like they should be in the conversation top 6 probably ish of teams. Okay. But it was a terrible week. I can't like they lost to G Buffo 3-1, who won 1 game in Swiss, and then when they went to the lower bracket, they had to go to do Game 4 versus Full Circle. I have no idea who's on Full Circle. Then they had to go to Game 5 against Is I'm Dreamin'. No idea who's on that team either. And then they got swept by TSM. So it's like their lower bracket run was not good. Yeah, so they were miserable, but because they finished top 4 last time, and I get that top 4 was a little bit skewed because they beat M80, which is a quality win, but they were the 8th seed coming in. So, like, I expect them to be probably 2 ranks higher normally, but this was an awful week, and I can't take them off my top 10, so I put them there at number 9. Like, I guess if you go by recency bias, which maybe I could have factored in more on this, they probably would have dropped a little bit more like you, but I put them at number 8. Number 9, and maybe this is where my recency bias could have played a factor more, I'm going to put OG here. OG is a weird team. Because
wait, the recency bias puts them lower?
No. So I'm saying like I could have maybe put them 8 and 9, the opposite way. If I was going more into that recency. Last week I had OG at 10, I think.
Okay.
Because I believed in them that they are veterans and that they will probably bounce back. I needed to see 2 bad results to like knock them off my list. But I'm putting OG here because yes, they made a top 4. They only have really 1 quality win this entire year, and that's M80. They did beat Dig, and I will give them that, but Dig also, that was a terrible day for them. They didn't play anyone good
Yep.
And they lost to them all, basically. So maybe a half quality win on Dig, and they have one quality win versus M80. Because when you start 0-2 in Swiss, yes, you have a much easier road, but you only have one life, right? So that's just how it is. So when you start 0-2, you're not going to have good competition. They did sweep out, which is good. They beat Akron, then they beat Dig, and normally then in the 2-2 round, because you came from the lowers, you're going to have a tough matchup. But they got incorrect. So they got the best possible 2-2 matchup they possibly could have. So I was like, all right, you have one quality win on the entire year. They lost to deleted 0-3 as well. That's when you call them cooked, Wave. You cursed them.
Yeah,
or
I
did. The reverse curse. So OG's a weird one. I need to see more out of them. And I get it. It was top 4. But I still need to see more. They need to do better against other teams as well. So that's where I go.
No. We are. You stole my notes. At 8, I have OG.
Okay.
So
okay.
we
Perfect.
have kind of the same, and for all the same notes, I put down the they have the same. They are where did I have this here? Yeah, I'm glad to see them be back, but their only real wins were M80 and then Dignitas, which
who was weak,
debatable on how good of a win that is at this point because of how weirdly inconsistent Dignitas has been. So I mean, this is the team. When this roster got tweeted out, I called them the Death Squad. I was excited. Like this is my kind of team. These are some like down and dirty, get it done in the trenches and with our brains, not in the air with some nice fancy pirouette ballet moves. Let me just run the ball straight up the middle and score. You got some old school grizzled Rocket League players. I was excited about this team. I want to skyrocket this team, but even with that bias, this is as high as I can put them. That 3-0 in week 1 or that 0-3 in week 1, like that hurts. That's hard. And then like they're like, oh, but they reverse swept the Swiss. That's not a good thing. That's like you shouldn't be in that situation. You shouldn't have to face off against Incorrect, which you were talking earlier about, like biggest surprises of the Swiss. I mean, Incorrect beating TSM in the running for the other one.
Oh,
those,
yeah, for sure.
Which is why they faced off against Incorrect there. At this point, I put Incorrect maybe in TSM in similar places. Though I say that I don't know what Incorrect did week number 1. I haven't looked at their results.
No, yeah, they weren't top 16, so I was like, I still would have TSM higher, but TSM's one of those weird teams. Like they're off both our lists, I assume. It's just like we need to see them finally get some quality wins, and they're just probably barely off both of ours. But the off season for TSM was great, and they just haven't shown it in the RLCS.
Yeah. No, they would be the number 11 team, but it's their success is they have made it top 16 both weeks and then not made brackets. So
sure.
And a list of top 10, the top 8 do get preference there. So next, unfortunately, we gotta move. We gotta move my Pirates on a boat. My lovely Pirates of all bombs from number 1. They're not
the first one.
Number 1.
You're the first one. We'll leave them at number 1.
Leave them at
but they'll be 1
now.
and 7. Yeah, they'll be 1 and 7. They're that
live
good.
In a wonderful multiverse parallel here or something. I'm gonna be honest. As much as I love Pirates on a Boat, because they have not made the broadcast except for when they are getting pummeled in bracket, I have not actually seen them play well. So this is mostly ranked off of consistency. I don't actually have a good idea in my head of the power of this roster. I know that I believe in the players, but I don't have I got to watch Andy all last year. Mr. Nolan, as we called him on the Dignitas broadcast, the guy is very, very good at Rocket League, and I believe in the power of their coach and the fact that their results are incredible. Always a huge Achieves lover here, but because we are watching them, most of their games happen in Swiss, and we for some reason never quite get to put their match on the broadcast. I don't have a good idea of really how strong they are. So this is mostly based off of results. I need to go do some more homework on Pobe.
Pirates on a Boat, I think, have 0 quality losses. And that's what I'll say. They are very consistent. All right. So in qualifier 1, they lost to G2 in the open part to go to the lower bracket. Then they advanced. They lost to Space Station and they lost to NRG in 5 games. So that one might be a little bit of a bad loss, but not that bad. Then they go into the playoff bracket and they lose there versus a strong Dignitas. Qualifier 2, they made it through the uppers, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So They didn't lose to anyone there. And then they only lost to, let me bring it up here real quick, Gen.g and Space Station. So their worst loss is a Game 5 loss versus NRG. They beat everyone below them. They lose to everyone above them. They are very consistent. They feel like a very good case to be like, I think they're going to make top 8 again. But they are one of those teams that just can't punch higher yet. And we'll see if that changes. But they did play G2, and it's like, it's G2. People were saying that was a close match. That was not a close match, guys. I get it. No. It was 1-goal games. But that series was never in question. From game 1, you could see it's like G2's going to win this. Maybe Pirates get a game or two, but it's not going to matter. G2 is definitely going to clean this up. So I wasn't too impressed there. But it is G2, and G2 does that to everyone. So I can't really fault them there.
Yeah. So, I mean, their game 5 loss to Pirates on a boat. This qualifier may be the closest thing to a quality loss they had. Wait, am I looking at the right team?
No, you're looking at the wrong team.
Wait, what is this?
Through qualifiers, they went unbeaten. So
no,
qualifier 2, right? Pirates on a boat. Are we talking about?
Pirates on a boat versus SSG round 4 of qualifier 2 in the Swiss.
No, yeah. So I'm sorry, but I meant in the open part. The weekend prior.
Yeah.
But so they lost to a Space Station, which
it's also not a quality loss. I'm like looking back at the scoreline, remembering the match. Yeah, they lost 6-2, 5-1 in games 4 and 5. So
sure, but still, that Space Station, who is ranked above them, right? They haven't really punched higher, but the only loss they have against anyone lower is NRG. So I also have Pirates on a boat in the same exact rank as you, number 7. So that's easy there. Next up on my list, I will go Dignitas. Dig is weird because that was a miserable qualifier too. But they've been so good in the offseason. They were good in qualifier 1 that so I move them down, but I can't move them down too much. I did say on broadcast that they're going to turn into a pumpkin at some point.
You did. And then they did. By the end.
Yes. And then, then we had some pumpkin pie. We had Thanksgiving. It was great. I don't know about this team because, again, on paper, I don't think they're as good as what they have shown with the results. But at the same time, they have all these wins, right? So I have to give them credit for that. I'm just waiting for it to all fall apart. It fell apart this week.
Okay, so when you say on paper they're not as good,
the 3 names like Gyro, Arsenal, and Evo, I feel like on paper are not as good as maybe a Parth, 2-piece, and Justin, and a few other names like OG as well. But they get results.
Arsenal and Evo pretty strong. I think
I rate them in the middle. In the middle. And then with Gyro, who didn't have a top 4 until since RLCS X, I was worried. But they proved me wrong. And I will say that. But I just don't know if they'll continue to prove me wrong. So I have them at 6. I can't put them up any higher right now because that was a terrible qualifier too.
Yeah. Regional 1 doing a lot of heavy lifting. This is actually kind of crazy too. I also have Dignitas at number 6.
Okay, all right.
We are. I promise, chat. We did not share notes.
We did not,
despite the fact that we are. Our bottom 3 are mixed up so far. But
sure.
Other than that, it's pretty similar here. Yeah, Regional 1's doing a lot of heavy lifting on this placement here. Other than G2, their only loss was their opener against Rebellion. And there was it was a 1-goal game. Against Rebellion. That series, it was a 1-goal game the entire time, including game 5 and game 3, where it was 5-4. They held their own in a shootout against 2-piece Parth and Justin. That's pretty strong. Love seeing it. Was excited about them. I had them ranked 4th last week. But this week, I don't know. The loss to Omelet with the overtimes. You can start slow, but not that slow. If you get that game to 13 minutes of overtime and you don't find the win, that is not good. If
they went into the lowers, so you expect them to bounce back a little bit because you're going to get much easier matchups, and they just never did. They just never bounced out of that. So
no, that tilt was strange. I don't really know what exactly happened there. I mean, I believe in Arsenal and Evo. I believe in Gyro too. I don't think the argument that like he's a washed up player really holds a lot of water, given that he's literally still here, still making
No, that's fair. Yeah, it's
top 4 as recently as last week. I mean, you look at no one's saying that about Garrett. No one said that about Turbo until it was obvious. Like it was that you can have long careers. I think Gyro's proven he can be that player at this point, but the consistency demonstrated and a little bit of recency bias definitely is dropping them quite a few spots here for me.
But I still think it's a good spot for them, because I think our top 5, I think everyone basically is going to have this top 5 in some order. Probably 3 and 4 and 5 are going to be different for everyone, but it's going to be the same 3 teams probably there. So I think Dig, they really couldn't go any higher than where they are, and that's after a miserable qualifier too. Like they could have dropped further, but for both of us, we put them as high as we possibly could probably.
Yeah.
All right, you're up. Number 5.
Okay, number 5 here. I'm wondering I wonder how many spicy takes we've actually got in this list. Number 5.
That's fine.
I got M80. Okay. Putting M80 here at number 5. I want to say one thing here quick. This is the format now. Okay, right? Swiss and a single limb. We're doing that all season. So people will be like, "Oh, they're just Swiss merchants." Like that's being good at RLCS. Like if being good at Swiss is really important. So like they get a lot of points for going 3-0 for beating Gen.g twice in Swiss. That is huge. Congratulations to M80. Now, I have no idea what to do with what happens when they get into the bracket. It honestly feels like this is going to sound weird, but it feels like they're both of their results were like a fluke. Like the losses, like they shouldn't be losing these matches in these ways when they get into bracket. And when you're like, oh, but it's happened twice, Wave Punk. This is not a fluke now. I'm like, no, weirdly, I still feel like what I think about this team and the way I believe in this team and the performance they're putting up the day before in the same chairs on the same internet connection, it's like this feels weird. It feels... I still don't look at it, and I can't resolve those two things and be like, well, yeah, they just only play well in Swiss. That makes no sense. So I put M80 at 5 only because the losses do matter. Otherwise, I think I'd probably still have them at 3.
The most important thing in this format is if you go 2-1 on Saturday, you're going to make every major, right? You just have to win when you're in the top 8. 2 out of the 3 times, and you won't even have to worry about it. You'll be at every major. That is the very important part of this format. That is when everything matters. You can go through Swiss, which is like kind of hectic. It's hard to coach through that and all of that stuff. But M80 has had no problems there. As soon as they have time to game plan, something goes wrong, which is very odd because Nick has been with tons of teams that just win. That's all they do. Like he finds ways to make them better and they win. Like Winter Major Dig. Yeah. He was with them. Yeah. He was with Falcons. They got better. For some reason that is not working right now. Again, like I could see with you, it's kind of fluky. At some point this streak has to end. And I think because the pros rate them so highly, like most pros are still saying like there's 3 good teams in NA, G2, Gen.g, and M80 that they have to be ranked somewhere in the top 5, but it's so unclear what to do with them because you got to win the big matches. It doesn't matter.
You got to be able to win.
You can't be the Dallas Cowboys, all right? You just can't do it.
Their loss for this week the loss last week is to the team we now have ranked like 8th through 10th. Like, what do you do with the Shopify loss? Like, how do you explain that? I don't know. It's hard.
And their other losses again, OG was 8 or 9. Yeah, so it's like, I also have them at number 5. So they I want to move them up. I feel like they almost deserve to be moved up. But in the format vacuum, they're losing the most important matches every single time. So if you just were like, oh, I'm going to look at a spreadsheet of head-to-head matches, M80 is probably 4th at the very least. Maybe 3rd. But because of how the format is and where the important matches are, you got to win them. You got to win the big games, and they are not doing that, so I can't put them any higher as well. Moving on, number 4. Will we differ, or will we have the exact same top 7? Then why did we make a show, Wave? Why did we
did? Listen, this is how you know it was real chat. We would have just put out a YouTube video if we had co-opted the list.
So number 4, I think we might differ here. I think we might. I'm going to go Luminosity here at number 4. Luminosity is a weird one because when they peak, they're blowing out teams. Like, they beat teams below them 8-2. They're doing some great poker hands, Wave, that we were saying. 2-7.
That's true.
8-3. They know
Best
how
hands of
to
poker.
Yeah, they know how to destroy teams below them at times. Then you get the random energy sweep, which I still don't know what to do with. And both qualifiers, they go through Swiss 3-2. And that's where I'm like, they obviously are not consistent, but when they are playing well, they look great. When they play G2, they look the best that anyone looks. But they're not consistent versus everyone unless you drop down to below 10, right? Once you're below 10, they dominate those teams. But everyone else, I'm like, what did Reynolds eat this morning? Is he feeling okay? Like, I'm not sure how that match will go. So Luminosity, last time they lost to G2 and Dig, but they beat the teams that they were kind of supposed to. They go into the playoffs and they lost to G2 again. So it's not too bad, but then like that energy loss it just hurts me. Like, they would probably be third if they didn't lose to energy, and if they were the 3rd seed and they played energy in the playoff bracket, I probably would move them up to 3rd. But that energy loss was really bad, and that's my concern with them. I don't know.
The energy loss was, in my mind, a tilt loss after losing Game 5 to Space Station. There was a bit of mental boom. That's the only way I can logically explain how they get swept by energy one day and then they annihilate them in bracket literally 12 hours later. I don't. There's no explanation there other than their head wasn't in the game the first series. That's like because everyone gets the mental reset of going to sleep and waking up the next day, and then when they're fresh, it's completely the opposite series. It's got to be that. I also have Luminosity at number 4.
Oh no!
I
thought you might rank Space Station lower. I thought you might, but
no Space Station lower here, folks.
All right.
I think, like it's not. It's also, I gotta point out, it is not often we get to see a rookie performance like Cheese is having this split. The man is
great.
Not carrying the team, but he is damn well lifting above his weight. And this goals we're seeing from him is incredible. The performance, the consistency, you gotta love it. It's not often on a team with like a super hardened, longtime pro like Reddles and a kind of diamond in the rough player who's never quite found his roster like Magic Bear. Again, 25 main events for Magic Bear before he made a grand finals here. The guy's been consistent. The guy's been trying to drag teams across the line, and yet it was Cheese we were talking about all weekend long.
Yeah.
Well done to Cheese. Incredible performance from him. But I do like the top 3 better.
But real quick with that, like, that was 2/3 the roster last season with AJ, and they couldn't make a grand finals. But Cheese comes in to fill the shoes of AJ, and now they make it. That is fantastic. Obviously,
they
make
one?
A little bit of bracket luck.
Optic won one event, didn't they? Am I crazy?
No. They never made finals.
I'm thinking of them making major. Or making
because Magic Bear and Reynolds were both there too. But it, like, maybe a little bit of bracket luck, but sometimes that is the way it goes. And obviously they had like M80, who's one of the best teams on that side of the bracket. They just couldn't make it through. So Luminosity, hats off to them. They're obviously in a fantastic spot to make major now. Like, they're very likely they will be there because of that grand finals run. But it's hard to rank them above. And I assume, Wave, you have at number 3 Space Station? Or no? Oh, do you have Gen? No, you have to have Space. There's no way. You can't do this.
Okay, I'm gonna be really honest with you guys, Chad. I'm gonna pull the curtain back a little bit. I've got SSG at number 3.
Okay, that's fair.
But because of this list, I'm like, I've been sitting here for the last 5 minutes trying to come up with an argument of why I can put them above Gen G, because it is close. Look, SSG has literally only lost to G2 and Gen G. Their passing game is my favorite thing I've seen in Rocket League since like season 3, like back when infield passing first like really became part of the meta, and I was so excited about it. The passes they are hitting are so cool. I sort of think that if this team can solve the intricacies of their rotation that are created by having this pass heavy offense, they will be unstoppable. but I cannot logically put them above G2 or Gen G when they are when they have literally lost them every time. It's hard. It's hard.
It's hard because Space Station, I think, like obviously they've only lost to the 2 best teams, but that's because M80 beats one of those best teams and makes every bracket a little bit weird, right?
Yeah.
My one issue with them, and this is mostly in qualifier 2, was they are taking way too many teams to Game 5. They take Akron to Game 5, then Luminosity, who they got outplayed in that series. Like Space Station probably should not have won that, but then some weird mistakes at the end across that series. So Space Station, they're hurt a little bit by those Game 5s, and that is why they keep being seeded 5th going into that playoff bracket and having harder bracket runs. They even beat Pirates on a boat. That took 5 games. So they weren't as dominant as they were in qualifier 1, where they were, I believe, the 1 seed, and they got unlucky and played in the 2-0 round that they were the 1 seed. They played G2, who was the 4th seed. So they have come back down to earth a little bit more. But a preseason, I had them power ranked 3rd. The pros have them power ranked 3rd. And they've literally only lost to the 2 teams above them.
Yeah.
They get the job done. But in Swiss, it is important to sweep teams. They're not doing that, but I still cannot rank them any lower because everyone else is too inconsistent around them, so they have to be at number 3.
Yeah, if they hadn't lost to Gen G twice, I think I could make the argument, but it's happened 2 times, not 1 time. So someone also in chat pointed out that Carmine Core's passing has been pretty amazing. Absolutely agree. I guess I meant best passing in North America I've seen in a long time.
I mean, Europe doesn't count. They're too good. So don't worry about that.
They're their own thing. We're not doing international power rankings. It's just
not yet anyway. Okay. Yeah. All right. So my number 2, I will go with Gen G. Obviously,
what a
I know, bold. Gen G though, they should be better than what they have been showing. They are not showing anything well, and it seems like every time they're on the mainstream, they just play way worse. Like, their offense is incredible at times when they're not on stream. And then as soon as they show up on stream, it's like, as soon as it's just one punch in the mouth, they can't do anything on offense. Now, some of that is because they play G2. And G2 is number 1 defense, yada, yada, yada. But, like, M80, that's a weird hurdle. I think the offseason with them not playing anything obviously has backfired. They probably will find their form at some time. I'm a little worried about Chronic. I think at times he's had some weird misses. And I worry about the longevity of this roster if that continues, because if they end split 1 with a disappointing major, say a 9th place finish, I would worry for Chronic because, when First Killer gets on a team, as soon as a 1 split's over, people are leaving, right? I assume they will try and work it out, but I would be mildly concerned. But I think they will figure it out by major time because they are better LAN players than they are probably even online. So I think they'll figure it out at some point. But Gen G just needs to show more. Like, there's a huge gap between number 2 Gen G and number 1 Pirates on a Boat. There's a huge gap.
Yeah.
Of course. Pirates on a Boat are so much better. So,
So, they're the cannons, baby. Coming out with a gun swinging the entire fleet armada. We got to love the Pirates on a Boat. No, but Gen G at number 2. G2 at number 1. Yep. It's not even a fun conversation right now. Like, Gen G, they have only gotten knocked out of the events by G2. And G2, they are what I haven't actually done the math I was saying earlier of like how strong do I think they are versus how strong, like how consistently can they put it up, kind of that dichotomy I was putting up, the rubric of how to do power rankings. I can do the math for G2 in my head right now, chat. They're a 10 on strength for peak power, right? And they're a 10 on consistency. So they're just 100 right now. They're just the best. It's not even a question. I wish we could make arguments for the top right now, but the fun arguments right now are like 3 through 7. So
yeah, I think there's a huge gap 1 and 2. 2 and 3, there's obviously a gap just because of that head-to-head. But Gen G, I think, is coming back down towards the 3rd.
I agree.
More than going up to the 1. We'll see if that continues. And then, 3 through 5, I think, are very close. It depends on how you want to rate them based on formats, probably. And then, there's a small gap because of the inconsistencies after that. But then it's like a mess from 6 to 9, maybe 10. with Energy. Like, I just don't have faith in Energy to repeat that performance. That's why I have them like all the way down to 10. But I could be wrong. But for like, I think the main thing for G2 going into qualifier 3, one is book your tickets on Monday to fly to EU to boot camp immediately because EU will still have to play their qualifier 3, so they'll probably get some good scrims on Thursday. Number 2 is I kind of want them to have a bad series. I want a team to show up against them and make them go to Champions Field just to see what G2 we get. Because my one issue with G2, and I've talked about this a lot, is Daniel is not clutch on LAN. Remember all those kickoffs with Space Station? Daniel was the one doing those kickoffs that led to miserable goals. He hasn't been that clutch when it comes down to trying to win the tournament. Outside of Gamers 8, which is a little bit of an outlier, it's hard to rate that exactly. Like, I think that was good experience for Daniel in Beast Mode, and that will help with the clutch factors and all that. But obviously for 3v3, it doesn't really matter that much, and they weren't that good of a 3v3 team there. Beast Mode is the same thing. With V1, he'll show up on LAN sometimes, and for a while it was like, what are we going to see in front of the crowd for Beast Mode? And there was times when he just did nothing. And that could have been more of a team dynamic, obviously. So we'll see if that will continue. I expect it won't continue, and I think they will be competing for at least the top 4 spot. But that is my one question, so I want them to get tested before the major.
Yeah, Beast Mode, I think he's generally shaken off the LAN monkey. It was a problem at the beginning. He's gotten much better. As chat's pointing out, Gamers 8, he really popped off. So I'm a little bit less concerned about Beast Mode in this situation. The one thing I will say I'm really excited about is G2's speed right now is so much faster, consistently faster than the rest of North America. Maybe it's close to what Europe does. That's the only thing I can possibly think of when I think about just how good Europe looks. Yeah. If G2's coming out of the gates swinging at the same mile per hour that the rest of the Europeans are, we might actually have a contender on our hands. But it is hard for me to look at the rest of the region right now when I think about Copenhagen and be like, are any of us going to be placed higher than top 4, given how many teams are coming from Europe?
Yeah, I think G2's your one team that I would be, like, if I had like a 50-50 bet, I would probably put them in the top 4 for Copenhagen. Like, I would take that bet. But anyone else, I would absolutely not. I think a lot of these teams right now, it feels like top 8 would be pushing it for most of these teams. It depends on how it all plays out because Sam looks great, Mina looks great, EU looks great. So like Gen.g, I would probably, like, if I had a coin flip bet, I would take it for top 8 because I think they'll show up better on LAN. Everyone else, because of the weird consistencies, I would probably say I think they would likely be 9th or worse for everyone else right now. But that's why we play the games, right? That's why we go to Copenhagen and see how it all plays out, because there's that LAN factor. There's the, like, Reddles LAN factor. When he shows up at LANs as an underdog, he usually puts out some good results. So
listen, you pretty French flyboys can't fly if you're demoed. That's all I know. Okay, we are ground on the air forces out here. We're coming for you. We'll see what happens here. Apparently, you copy pasted Corelli's list. This is exactly.
Oh no, is it? Oh no. Oh, well done. Like, I knew I was close to him, but I wasn't sure if we were exact. But
it is unfortunately, chat, not a particularly interesting time to be doing power rankings in NA because we've had such similar results 2 events in a row. Maybe event number 3 will make it interesting next week.
Oh, Corellius Pope 8. Well, obviously my list is better then. Mine is obviously better. Come on, Corelli. What are you doing?
What a hater.
Yeah, jeez. Come on.
I can't believe.
What is going on here? But yeah, that's it. That's the wrap for the first power ranking show. Me and Wave will try and do this after each tournament, probably usually on Monday, but my kids were home yesterday. So I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Wave, you have any final thoughts?
It was a great time. Tune into the broadcast this weekend and watch some Europeans play, 5 p.m. Central European time, twitch.tv/Rocket League, starting on Friday. Love the pre-show. Half an hour before that. Should be a good.
Where's production? Where's the calendar graphic? We need it up. First touch.
Yeah, exactly. Come on.
Coming up on Wednesday.
That's right. Tomorrow.
Johan, where you at?
11 a.m. Pacific, twitch.tv/Rocket League on Wednesdays. You can catch First Touch Podcast. They'll be doing their power rankings, I believe, as well. So we'll get to see if their list deviates.
He's always a host, guys. He's always a host. You know.
This is the problem. T-Bates can't put G2 any higher, so it's not going to be.
I am shocked that T-Bates was like, I want to put Reynolds and Johnny Boy on to argue about something else when he could have just gloated for 2 hours about G2. He could have just sat there
Johnny
and
Boy
like,
and just talked about how good G2 is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, we're not going to mention Europe today, Johnny. Sorry. But yeah, it was fun, Wave. I enjoyed it.
Good time. Good time.
Thank you for your time, and I guess I'll leave you here. So
sounds good. See you later. Bye-bye.